But
Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan Fradenburgh, and this is Chess with Investors. I'm joined with my friend who's also a real estate guy in some context. He's also like kind of semi-retired, living in paradise. Jeff Holst, how you doing today?
yeah, pretty good, man. I've been good.
Excellent, excellent. And would you say that's a good way to say it? You know, semi-retired. You know, I know that you're an attorney, but that's not basically what pays your bills
Oh yeah, I've
right
been
now.
practiced law since 2010. Actually, I was doing other stuff for a while. I that's fascinating. I haven't played chess and talked about myself in a long time, so it's a complicated behavioral issue.
Yeah, very, very fair.
Yeah,
So,
but yeah,
so, but
so I
you're,
didn't. Yeah, so
yeah,
I didn't do any I didn't do any real estate for I mean I didn't do any law for a long time now, and I'm okay with that. Like I love that I don't do law. So
fair enough, fair enough. And you're an author. The author of No Bad Days. I didn't butcher the name, right?
that's right.
It's
No bad days. How to
exactly.
make every day great. So
Yeah, I absolutely love that for lots of different reasons. One of the biggest is that I know that you also it was leukemia that you had, correct?
yeah, that's what got me out of law. So I got diagnosed with leukemia in 2008 in September. So we're coming up on 16 years now. I was told I had maybe a few weeks to live, a month to live. So beat that expectation. Um, Man, I'm facing some new health stuff now. So I'm like, I had melanoma a couple of years ago, and I'm just trying to be as healthy as I can.
Yeah, yeah, what a drag. But anyway, the as far as the book goes, No Bad Days. I think I think one of the main parts is that there absolutely is such a thing as having some unpleasant days, but it's not. It doesn't count as a bad day. Like bad things can happen, or things like have I got the basic gist of
Yeah,
that
I mean,
way of thinking?
the way I look at it is good and bad stuff happens to everyone, probably every day. Somewhere in the world, someone's having the best day of their life, someone else is having the worst day. So the day itself is really neither. It's objectively neither good nor bad. It's just how those individuals are thinking about it that controls it, right? I mean, that's the thing. So
Yeah, so if I go there, yeah, I think I'm gonna try this then.
really,
But
didn't
yeah,
see
exactly.
that one
So
coming, but all right, we'll allow it.
okay, so then if I but yeah, it's quite difficult to play chess and have a conversation at the
I know
same
it
time, isn't
is.
it?
I love it actually. I really do love that. It's pretty cool. Um, Man, but yeah. So the good and bad days thing is like it's a choice. So I want to finish that thought up real quick. But what I take away from that is that that we get to choose how we receive the day, right? So when bad stuff happens, it's like there's this quote from the Dalai Lama, um, and the Dalai Lama basically said um, that worry never makes sense, right? Because you can either do something about it, in which case you're better off to do it, or you cannot, in which case, solid, by the way, in which case you should, if you cannot, let's see, man, it's hard to even talk about things I know. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, the good news is you got almost 15 minutes left, and you
yeah,
get a
yeah,
10
yeah. I
second
got time to
increment every time.
think.
So,
So yeah,
right.
so the long and short of it is, the Dalai Lama's quote was essentially like, either you can do something about it and you're better off to do that, or you can't, and then worrying doesn't help. And so from that perspective, right? I think I think about that a lot. Actually, I think, okay, what does this mean? What does what can I learn from it? What can I control about it? Because if something bad happens to me, somebody tells me you have leukemia, uh, I can't. I could get mad about that, but it doesn't help me any to get mad about it, right? Like it doesn't. There's no advantage to getting mad about it. So I have to think about what's the what's the positive that I can get from it? And that's really what it comes down to at some level, is you just make that decision. What positive can you get? What do you learn from this? That sort of thing. So.
So that brings me to one idea where I think in chess it's right there in everybody's face, which is the debate between fate and determinism, and just like the universe being chaos. Would you say that comes into play, or are you willing to say where you put your chips as a person with above average intelligence? And you're definitely a philosophical kind of guy like myself. I know from the previous conversations, but I think that chess is one of the best examples of that, because like you're forced to make decisions all the time, and if you're a determinist, then you really do have to make that decision.
Which is what I had to do right there. I had to decide if I wanted to do that or not, because like there really wasn't a choice, right?
Right, and of course there's definitely what people would call conditioning involved, which is that like if you just plain don't see a move, you're never going to make that particular move.
Yeah,
but at the
exactly.
same time, like, does the shoe fit, I guess is the question.
It is always a question. It is always a question.
But similar to what you were saying with your reaction to the leukemia diagnosis and all that kind of stuff, the closest thing I can think of in my own experience to that was I lost my mom when I was 28. And I felt like, it's like, you know what? I don't think that that's in the user's manual for life. I think that, like you're supposed to have, like a longer lease on having a mom that's alive than that.
Yeah,
and of course,
my mom and dad are both alive, right? And I'm 46. So like, yeah. But I mean, we don't get to control that stuff.
Right, exactly. And so then the real question is, like, just like you can choose to get angry, or you can choose not to. But like, is there? I guess it like, is there intent? Is there mens rea? Right?
Yeah.
And so I guess you're pretty firmly in the no. There isn't a mens rea. There's not. Hey, I'm going to pick on Jeff in particular.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think so, right? I do think everything happens for a reason, and I spend a lot of time just kind of trying to accept that, even if I don't understand the purpose of what's going on, or I don't understand what it is exactly that's happening, that's okay. Like, I just have to be okay with that. That is hard to do, though. I'm not gonna lie; it is a hard strategy in life to recognize that something can be okay, right? Like that. When a parent dies, when a child dies, imagine that, right? Like, you think it's bad to lose your parents early. Like, what if you lose a child? Think about that with my mom, right? Like, when I was sick, like, what if I die? How is she going to respond to that? Like, actually, that's one of the things that concerned me the most about the situation I was in at that time.
I'll do that.
You know what's embarrassing about my chess.com account? I only ever play non-timed games, or like 7-day games, where you have 7 days to make a move. So this timed move thing is throwing me off. And also, like, you have a different ranking on timed moves, and my ranking is horrible. Right. So hopefully we can like block that out at the bottom of the screen there.
Yeah, I could do that.
I'm totally kidding. I don't need to.
It's funny.
I'm at 359 people, and I'm playing exactly like that right now, actually. So,
I'm not okay. So what I've got on the go here, it's a Queen's Gambit variation, and I can definitely tell you that I'm taking some unconventional approaches in
I've
it on
seen
here.
That, yeah. I see a little unconventionality there. So I do like your last move, though. That makes me happy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to do that. And the question is, do I want to do this? I guess I do.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess I can do this.
That makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Hmm.
But
Interesting.
I was gonna say though that if it makes you feel any better, my bullet rating is around where your rating is right there.
Oh,
That's a
that was so
blunder.
dumb. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh well. That's
I can set you up. I can kind of do an undo by
oh,
I can
if you
move.
want, but you don't need to. It's fine. Whatever. It
Well,
is
yeah, we
what.
could do a rematch too, I
Yeah. Well,
suppose. All right.
we have time. We'll do a rematch. I like
Yeah, there you go.
rematches. Like in a minute, I'm about to resign. So, like, but I refuse to resign quite yet. How about that?
All right, I like it.
Why the freak not? See that I
Yeah.
almost cussed.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, it was kind of funny. I had a poll on LinkedIn asking how many episodes people think I got through before I actually started cussing, and the consensus was five or fewer. But the actual answer
Was
is
zero.
no, no. It was I think I got to the 28th recording.
Oh, not bad. That's not
Yeah,
bad.
and I also held myself. Like I wasn't too vulgar.
Nice.
Let's, yeah, it was just the S word. Which
Hmm.
did you hear that
It's
these
not too
days
bad.
the
I
S?
almost dropped an F
Yeah,
bomb right there. So,
right,
and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, it took me a minute to orient. Like, I didn't even know where the scores were, and I'm like, I don't, like I spend more time thinking about it when I play the slower version of the game. So,
right,
and by the way,
right,
my ranking isn't awesome anyway, but it's like 850 instead of 350. It's a bit
right,
different.
right. Let's try this.
Yeah, why not try that? I hate it, but why not try it?
Right. Um,
That makes good sense to me.
yeah, I'm gonna have to get this knight out of there. Oh, I could put it there. Wow, what a weird move. I mean, like what I'm planning on doing is a weird
Well,
move.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what your move is yet, but I believe you. That is a bizarre move, but I mean, it is what it is, right? I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm just
I'm not
protecting the
sure I
knight.
love that move for you, but
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So I can do this now, and then that's pinned. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's what you had to do, right? Like, I mean, I don't really see any
yeah.
other option there.
Well, a minute ago, I was thinking of dropping my queen onto f3 for check, but then
Uh,
I'd just be like saying, "Okay, here, have a free knight."
yeah,
And
which is fine, I guess, but
yeah, yeah. But speaking of which,
yeah, well, it's a little different now.
sure is. But
Hmm.
there you go. So I guess you also have a great Facebook group that's focused on where you decided to move after realizing that you don't really have to live in any particular place anymore.
True
Uh,
that, yeah.
yeah. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about my Puerto Rico Life Facebook group. So I
Yep.
spend about half of my time in Puerto Rico. I technically live in Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee right now, but I do spend a lot of time in Puerto Rico. I love Puerto Rico. There's a lot of for U.S. listeners, right? There's a ton of tax advantages to living in Puerto Rico. I don't happen to need those because I'm a multifamily real estate investor, and as such, the tax advantages are less important
Hmm.
than that. Oh, look at that! I love this, by the way. Thanks for putting me in this beautiful position right here. Yeah. So I mean, Puerto Rico is a place that I'm passionate about because its culture is really interesting. You know, you have Taino Indian native people uh, influences. You've got Spanish colonial influences, and you have the American influence on top of that. It's a really complicated place,
Hmm.
and that makes it really interesting.
So now I can't castle.
I know, right? I'm such a meanie. Hmm. Hmm. Don't love that, but whatever. Do what you gotta do, I guess.
Right. I mean, exactly. So, yeah. As far as like you're talking about tax advantages, and a lot of the tax advantages are real estate. It's kind of a bit hush hush in the guru circles, but it's you have to be a real estate professional in order to gain those bigger tax advantages.
Yeah.
Like accelerated depreciation, things like that.
I mean, they benefit you anyway, but they don't benefit you to the same extent, obviously. If you don't have the real estate professional thing, because the real estate professional thing, I mean, requires is the wrong word, but what it does is it allows you to claim all of it at once, right? Um, as opposed to, by the way, you beat me, so we're good on that. Let's
Yep.
rematch though. We got
Rematch.
time, right? We're not in that big of a
We
hurry.
sure do. We're not in that big of a hurry. That's
All
right.
right, good. I'm gonna concentrate more this time, but I will finish my thought about the real estate professional thing, which is that as a real estate professional, you get to claim active or really passive, what would otherwise be passive losses against your active income. Which
Hmm.
means you can take a direct write off for things like depreciation that you can't do if you're not a real estate professional.
Yep. Bingo. Bingo. We got 30 seconds, or else it's going to auto over. There we go. Cool. All right. So what am I going to
I
do with
was
this?
getting to it. I just taking my time, deciding what kind of open I wanted to do here.
Yeah, I'm going to do a Sicilian on you.
Oh, are you? Well, thank you for telling
Yes.
me. That
Yeah.
means like
There.
very little to me because I don't play it seriously enough to actually study. But I'm
Well,
gonna do random shit to mess with you.
okay. Well, the good news. So one thing that
Here, I
is
dropped
kind
an
of.
S bomb for you though.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Actually, I got a new soundboard hooked up. It's kind of wonky at the moment, but I got a little beep thing for
No, you
censoring
can
out.
beep my my S bomb out.
There you go.
I don't think you really need to beep that, honestly, if
Yeah, I
I were
don't
to
think
be
so either.
clear about it. But
So I want to do it that way. Probably not. Maybe. Yeah. No. All right. Yeah. Let's do that. But yeah, so I got a problem, and it comes from Buddhism. You mentioned the Dalai Lama earlier. I've got a problem with zero sum games because I think that that's just a fancy way of saying you're taking from somebody. And
agreed.
yeah, and chess is basically my only exception to that rule of of being fine with a zero sum game. But I did have a very large amount of anxiety about playing humans. So
Mm,
through most of my chess playing in my life, basically because like I studied electrical engineering in university, so I was acutely aware that Garry Kasparov had lost to was it Deep Blue. Uh,
mm-hmm.
by the time I was in there. So I knew it's like, okay, so it's now hopeless for humanity to try and defeat these engines anymore. So like what exactly so basically I decided to start learning from the computer and embracing it instead of
Sure.
yeah. And I've been playing against bots, and I was just studying what they were encouraging me to do. And let's see here. So now, how do I want to do this? Definitely not that. Definitely not
So
that.
I don't view chess as a zero sum game. Maybe this will help you.
Okay.
I view chess as I mean, in its basic sense, it is a zero sum game, obviously, right? Because like one person wins, one person doesn't, right? If
Hmm.
I take from you, you lose something, but we're gaining something by having this person to person interaction.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I do like that. I like that a lot. But as far as boot camping myself, that eventually came to me starting this show. Last year, I did 7,000 chess puzzles.
Wowzers, that's a lot more than I did. I did four. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't
and
mind
and
chess
then
puzzles. Interesting. I like playing people.
yeah, yeah, me too. Now, but the this year I ripped the Band-Aid in January, and from January to June, maybe even like late
Hmm.
May, I played over 3,000 games, and so that way
That's great.
I got used to being checkmated and
Yeah, well, you've
embarrassed.
definitely played a lot more than me. I actually hadn't played in like 20 years, and like 6 months ago, my buddy was like, "Hey, let's play a game of chess on chess.com." I'm like, "All right." So I played like one game or whatever. It's my move, huh? I
Yep.
should probably be paying attention instead of jabbering.
Oh, you
Um,
got lots of time,
yeah,
so.
I know, I see that, but I forgot it was my move, so I would have taken a long time to make my move if I wasn't thinking about it. Yeah, why not? Let's try that. Interesting. Hmm.
So now, let's see here. I guess I should do a pawn rush, shouldn't I? Or I could do that instead. That's kind of neat, isn't it? Eh, you know what? Let's just
I like it when you
clog
say
up.
this is kind of neat. It's a fun way to to look at the game, I suppose.
Yeah, I think part of it is that I've got a podcasting and teaching mode in my brain. I know I have a few different modes. One, like when I started studying Spanish, I noticed that I had two different, like a switch in my head where it's either English or not English, and the not
Mm,
English was adopting the Mandarin way, like ways of speaking, like the grammar and different things like that.
sure.
And the best example I can give, which this is pretty shocking to people when they first find out, but Mandarin does not have a word for yes, and it doesn't have a word for no. And the way that that works out is if you ask a question like, do you have a dog? The answer is has. Like have or has, right? You,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
wouldn't you
Like
wouldn't
I
say
have a
yes.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if you don't have a
And so
dog,
Mandarin
it's
has no
don't have.
yes and no.
That's right. But other dialects of Chinese absolutely 100% do. Like for example, Taiwanese, it does have a word for yes and
Sure.
no.
Interesting. Did not know that. I'm curious about your experience learning Spanish, though. That's something I've been pondering of late
Hmm.
because of um, because of my Puerto Rican time, right? Like spending time in Puerto Rico has made me more compelled to learn Spanish. So the last, let's see here, how long have I been doing Spanish now? For the last 6 weeks or so, I've been taking one-on-one Spanish lessons, 30 minutes or 3 times a week for an hour.
Hmm.
And I've never tried to learn a foreign language in my life
Hmm. Hmm.
before this. This is a brand new experience for me. So it's
Hmm.
kind of interesting. It's like it's a different sort of thing.
Right. Well, the most important trick, see, like whenever I try to learn a language, I try to make it so that people don't know that. whatever language I'm speaking isn't my first language.
Mm.
And so the trick for that is actually it's best illustrated by the problem with how English is taught in places like Taiwan,
Mm.
and the specific issue for that is that people will say it is an apple. So they put these little silences, these little spaces between the words, and nobody speaks that way. Okay, in any of the Romance languages, Western languages, we don't speak that way. For example, if you're going to say it is an apple, the correct way to say is it's an apple.
Mm. Of course.
It's an apple. So the N from N joins into apple and turns into napple. It's an apple if you slow it down, right? So
Hmm.
if you know that, then you will end up having to take a different approach to learning it entirely, which is you should be learning in bite-sized pieces. So the most brilliant language teacher that I met in Taiwan, that was his major contribution. So
It was just
it's an apple. It's an apple.
sound. So learn it in chunks rather than words.
Yes, exactly. So a longer
Which
sentence.
makes sense, right? Because like
Right.
I didn't learn Buenos Dias, right? Like
Yeah.
or I didn't and like for a while I was like, why is uh you know Buenos Dias Buenos versus
And
Buenas?
that's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Buenas tardes, right?
Yeah.
Like like I learned those greetings and I just knew one was one and one. I didn't need to know the grammar behind it, right? Like to be able to understand um
Right. Right.
what the
Yeah.
situation.
Masculine and feminine it's pretty brutal in general.
Yeah, it's
And
super complicated. And like it's taken me a while to figure this stuff out a little bit, and I mean, and I say a little bit because it is really just a little bit figured out. that's
right. Right.
that's about the extent of it, a little bit figured out. So the question with this move is, and I'm going to run out of time if I don't decide what I'm going to
Hmm.
do,
Yeah.
is do I want to be more aggressive or less aggressive? And I'm like, I'm kind of in the I feel like being aggressive mode just for
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think I'm going to do, and we'll see how it works itself out.
So I can do that. Okay, that's no longer pinned though. Let's see here. We're still even in material. So yeah, you can have my queen.
I figured that's what you were going to say. Um,
Hmm.
and I felt like because you're better at this than me, I was better off to get rid of a queen early because I know queens are really dangerous, but I'm not terrible at chess. So I felt like, why not?
Right. The trick. Okay, so I'm risking. Oh, can I do that? I can do that. Should I do that? I will do that. I'm doing this.
That's the right call, by the way, right there. Because, I was going to move my knight next, right?
Yeah, yeah, the fork from hell. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm so congratulations there. I mean, you made the right call. In fact, maybe the only sensible move at that point, right?
It's it's up there, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
it's
would have
definitely up
probably been
there.
better with. Yeah, I probably would have been better off if I held on to my queen though. Now that I'm looking at
Yeah,
some
no,
of
I
the.
know. I mean that's why I did it actually.
Yeah.
So
Okie dokie. So that's.
it felt like I might have an advantage in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still gonna win. Like, let's give you credit where credit's due here. But I do like having a slight advantage, even if it is only a slight advantage. And even if it is forcing me to make that move,
Mm.
which is literally the only move I was able to make, right? I think, yeah, it must be. Yeah,
Yeah, because you couldn't take it and you had to move out of
yeah,
check.
exactly. So that is what it is how I would look at that.
So the example I wanted to give for that, because I'd run into this all the time with Taiwanese English teachers. You know, they like that's. I think it's honestly the trap of being a teacher is every teacher thinks that their students are the best and they're amazing and all that kind of stuff, when they're not.
Right, of
And
course.
and uh, and so what I do is I tell them I give them the example. It's like, do you think your students could follow these instructions successfully? Uh, just repeat after me. The king is the large man who is wearing a crown. Do you think they could repeat that? And they're like, oh yeah, they could. It's like, no, they couldn't, because what's going to happen is they're going to say the king is the large man who, and like they're going to miss the end of it, right? And so you have to put it into bite-sized pieces. And the way that I prove it was with Spanish, and I'd use the sentence Roberto duerme una siesta encima de la alfombra, right? Which is Roberto had a nap on the mat. Okay,
Hmm.
and the trick to doing it is the bite-sized pieces. So Roberto duerme. Okay, Roberto duerme una siesta encima de la alfombra. And you just keep on repeating that in those bite-sized pieces over and
Mm.
over again.
Yeah,
And then once you've done that, then turning around and saying Roberto duerme una siesta encima de la alfombra. It's not that hard.
makes sense.
So
And
it's
you do need to like at some point like be able to say more complicated structures, but like plug and play pieces make sense for a while. It's interesting. I'm gonna contemplate that because I do want to up level my rather terrible Spanish. Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you have a material advantage now, so I'm not convinced that that movie is as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's curious. It's definitely curious.
So maybe this time I'm the one that should shut up and pay attention.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but I don't know. I mean, what do I know? You know, I'm just guessing here. Um, like I'm gonna have to think this one out though, because I don't want to get myself in a into something I'm not wanting to be in. Huh. Hmm, peculiar. This is why I should be paying more attention and not talking about Spanish, I suppose. But it's all right though. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying, so I guess I have to do that.
Seems right to me.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not what I want to. Oh,
well,
crap.
maybe not so right to me actually.
Yeah,
Now that
that
I
was
think about it,
100% wrong. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's good though. I need that in my life. Um,
Yeah, this is bad.
well, it's less than optimal for sure. There's no question about that. Um, so the question though is, how do I take advantage of my relatively strong position? And I've definitely got an advantage. There's no question about that.
Yeah, you're up 8 points of material.
Yeah,
That's
that's I
a
mean,
lot.
like I
Grant
said, there's
GMs would resign here. Yeah.
yeah. Well, if you were playing someone of a stronger caliber, then you should do that. But I mean, I ended up waiting till I was down 12 or something stupid like that. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like we'll see what happens here. Let's do this right here, actually. Okay. Not bad. It makes sense to me. So, where do we do here? There would be fine.
I think I have a plan again.
All right, well, we'll see how your plan works.
Yeah, well, you seem to be delaying my plan.
I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I don't really want your plan to be too easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just gone back. Oh, man.
Well, nothing wrong with that. Um, I think that my best call is to do this right here. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Suppose I should do that. At least you have lots of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it occurs to me we haven't talked about real estate very much, and this is a real estate podcast, Chess with Real Estate People or something like that, right?
Right.
So, what do you think right now about the real estate market cycle, like where we're going?
I think that people are more timid than they ought to be. It's honestly, you know, like there's if you know your history, you know fortunes are made in down times,
Yes.
and like that's clearly where we are right this second. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna start doing random crap here because
You know, that actually foiled my favorite plan that I was about to do. So thanks
okay,
for that. But I mean, I guess I'll just have to take your night and clear that up a little bit. Really
pretty
see any
much.
downside to that. Get a bigger material advantage, call it good, right?
Yeah. So I still can't go there. I can go there. Maybe I should. Yeah, I guess I will. Yeah, that's no good. Yikes.
See, now we're gonna have to do this again sometime because we're gonna be one on one, and then like we're gonna um we're gonna have no choice but to come back in a few weeks and try one more time for the grand championship.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I think that if this podcast format's going to succeed, I really do think I'm going to have regular guests to come back, and I think people will probably have their favorites. And
I like that move, by the way, on your part.
thank you. Now, if only I had a bunch of other great moves earlier.
Right, like you had another strategy, something that would have that would solve for that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so
How
there we
about
go.
that?
Yeah, there you go. One on one. I love it. That's my favorite way to make these
It's a
things
good way to end
happen.
the game. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And but we that was my take is that you know like I wouldn't say that there's blood on the streets, but one of the pivots that I did back in January is instead of focusing on equity deals, getting investors into you know one-off syndications on bigger properties, multifamily, and all that kind of stuff. I started working with a guy who's been in the mortgage banking industry since the '80s, and so we started up a debt fund that's now live. We've given our first returns to our first investors.
Cool.
Very exciting stuff. But what I've noticed is there are deals out there for days. Finding people to lend to is not a challenge at all right now.
Mm.
And that's probably the biggest smoking gun of all, as far as the state of the real estate market right now. But really, like, I
I think
wouldn't say
it's
that there's
partly
blood in the
because a
streets,
lot
but
of the
yeah,
money's afraid, right? Like
right.
so there's less lenders available.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think fear is a tipping point. That's how I would analyze the market, right? Is that if enough people are afraid, the market will crash. Like that's just the way it happens. It will, but it doesn't have to. And it appears to me, at least, uh, that the powers that be have navigated in such a way that we may not see a major crash. The other thing I think that people are missing is, and I can't speak to inflation in Canada very well because I don't follow it as closely as here, but there actually has been a crash already. In Chattanooga, where I'm sitting right now, the house that I sold 3 years ago for a $500,000 US would sell for about a $500,000 today.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
but during the last 3 years, there's been substantial inflation. So that house is worth 25 to 30% less than it was 3 years ago. People don't notice it because the dollar amount is the same. I call it a
Right.
shadow crash. I think the crash has already occurred, and I think real estate regresses to an inflationary mean over a long period of time. I think the historical record is super clear on that. Sometimes it goes up faster, sometimes it goes down, but it pretty much mirrors inflation when you look at it over 20, 30-year periods. And there's two ways for that to happen. You can have a 2008 situation where prices fall dramatically to get to that mean, or you can have inflation go up faster than houses, and that's the same thing. And we've already done a lot of that crash already without people
Hmm.
realizing it. And I think that gives me optimism for the next 2-3 years, because I think
Hmm.
there isn't a lot of room for the market to fall. There's a tremendous amount of demand for housing, and it's so much easier to talk about this stuff when we're not distracted by chess, by the way. So there's
I'll
a
say.
tremendous amount of demand for housing. And I do believe that over the long term, housing is going to be just fine. And I think all the rest of the real estate markets follows a combination of the housing market and the business market cycles. And the business market cycle, same thing. Like we've had a lot of inflation, and we haven't, and that has eroded corporate profitability without corporate profitability having to fall dramatically. So I think that the combination of those two things mean that there's definitely, as long as we can control inflation going forward so it doesn't get worse, a real possibility that we can have the quote unquote soft landing, which is really more like a disguised recession.
Right, exactly. Recession by another name. I love that. And of course, the pricing, one of the biggest things that have kept it from having more appreciation is just if the interest rates are higher, that
Yeah.
means you can get less house for the same loan. And so that's really what that's been a
Yeah.
drop that people won't generally see. But I love this direction. I really do think that because real estate is one of those stores of value like gold, except gold, people can break into your house and steal it. There are
Hard to
ways to
steal
get
real
into it.
estate. It's not
It's
impossible.
harder.
People have accomplished it, but it is difficult for sure.
Right, exactly. They at least can't, huck it onto their shoulders and walk away with it physically. They have to just squat for a while and hope to get away with it
Yeah,
usually.
exactly. If you're paying
But
attention, you're not getting your real estate stolen. Like, let's be honest. If you're paying your
right,
taxes and on your land or whatever, and occasionally visiting, you're going to be fine.
exactly. But if people want to reach out, whether it's for that background about Puerto Rico or if it's for real estate, if they just want another friend, I know that you're active on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. But what's
Facebook,
the best way to reach out?
Instagram. Yeah, all the places I'm Jeffrey Holst, right? So jeffreyholst.com is great. Like you can find me there. But yeah, any of my Facebook groups, I have Last Life Ever, which is another podcast I do about living the best version of your life. But probably the easiest is just at Jeffrey Holst on Instagram. That's, if you send me a message there, I might not see it right away because it goes into a filtered box, but I'll see it eventually and respond. So
All right, beautiful. And if you want to reach out to me, LinkedIn is also definitely the best way to do that. But if you want to do me a favor, there is, you can check both Jeff and myself out on Amazon. We've got some books there. My ones are on some different business skill building related topics. Even the one that's called Real Estate is a Scam. It actually is related, and it's not just, conspiracy bird stuff. But if you want to do me a solid that costs you absolutely nothing, you can hit that hideous subscribe button that's down there. And I want people to do that so that YouTube starts to pay for these videos instead of me. I think that'd be
So they
amazing.
can do that for me too. Puerto Rico Life on YouTube. Go check that out and subscribe to that, even if you don't watch my content. But I love the Puerto Rico stuff. So if you want to visit Puerto Rico, that channel is gonna just talk about Puerto Rico. So it's awesome. But
Perfect.
yes, subscribe to this channel right down here. Do it.
Awesome. All right. And thanks a bunch for joining. I look forward to our next rematch where maybe we can do some tiebreakers.
Sounds right. Thanks.
All right. Sounds good.